what it actually means to take up space. I'm excited to dig into this on the Soul Sovereignty and Sexuality Podcast with myself, Jessica Falcon, international soul healer and embodiment guide. Quick announcement before I go into today's topic is that we have an exciting retreat coming up January 10th through 12th in person in Hot Springs, North Carolina, near Asheville, called the New Year, New You retreat. We're going to dig into all the ways you can release the past, let go of old identities through love, through forgiveness, and consciously create the new based on your soul's desires and truth and power. So, deep transformational weekend. You can join us. Space is limited. Go to thepathtosovereignty.com. I will also put the link below in the show notes. And the topic of taking up space is huge, particularly right as we move into the new year, as we go through the holiday season. A lot of people feel like when they go through the holidays, they go home, right? There's a little resistance. Sometimes if you have difficult family dynamics or you're afraid that you're not going to be able to experience or say what you want, a lot of people hide their truth, right? Instead of expressing it, or minimize their own needs, diminish them, put others first. All the ways that we don't take up space. So what does it look like to not take up space, right? Let's be a little bit more specific, because we're talking about what it means to take up space. We also have to look at what it means to not take up your space, how that manifests itself in your experience. So take a moment to reflect, right? What does it mean to not take up space? What are the ways that you diminish yourself? What are the ways that you minimize your own needs? What are the ways that you dismiss your own feelings? Oh, that doesn't matter. It's okay. It's not okay, but it's okay. I don't want to say that because I don't want to bother them. I don't want to make them upset. I'd rather avoid conflict. That phrase right there, I'd rather avoid conflict, is a surefire signal that there's a deep fear of taking up space and being seen. I don't want to bother them with this question or need or desire. I'll just do what they want to do. Oh, that doesn't matter. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to speak that truth. Putting other above you, before you, more important than you, right? Just associated with all of this is one way that you deny your own space, because you give the other person more space emotionally, you give them more space energetically, but you deny that to yourself. That's very common, particularly in women, though it can happen in men too. It's very common in empaths and sensitives and healers, big-hearted people. You see outside of you, you see others, you want to give them space, you want to hear them, but you wouldn't dare express that yourself, right? Being mindful of the ways that even your body, right? Like, is your body open? We're talking about embodiment, right? I do soul embodiment work. The body is the key to transformation and to your power reclamation. And so notice your body right now. Are you opening your shoulders? Are they back? Is your heart open, but anchored into your belly, anchored into your root, anchored into your womb? Is your heart balanced, centered? Is your chest leaning forward? Are your shoulders rounded, right? Is your chest neutral? Is your head up? Is it down? Where do you tend to look? Down or forward? Are your palms open? Are they closed? Are your hips open? Are your toes turned together, right? Like the turning of the toes together, the crouching of the legs toward each other is definitely one way your body is trying to energetically and emotionally keep small, right? Can't be seen, afraid of being seen. That was a huge pattern in my own life for a long time. And I would literally even notice how I was sitting and my legs would be curled together, and I would consciously go, oh, let's open. Let's have the legs hip distance apart. Let's allow the knees to be open, so that I started to take up more space and trained my body to do the same. So just notice these things in your postures throughout the day today, even over the next 24 hours. What's my posture? Am I taking up space with my body? Am I contracting my body? Notice this. And then with your verbalization of your needs, of your feelings, of your desires, am I stating them out loud, even to myself? You don't always have to state these things to other people. I'll do a different episode on speaking your truth because it's so misunderstood. We think truth. I just say everything I feel. That is not speaking your truth. It's much more multi-layered than that. But are you voicing your insides to the outside world? Are you allowing yourself to be seen? Last week's episode was a lot more on being seen and shifting out of old patterns. But are you vocalizing, verbalizing, bringing attention to your inner self, which is taking up space? I'm allowing my inner self to come out, to be seen by others. That is taking up space. How it can turn when we're trying to take up space, but we haven't actually rooted into the energetics of taking up space, because they're two different things, though they can be various stages, right? Trying to take up space can almost be this like forceful, right? I'm going to speak my truth to whoever, no matter what, even if they don't want to hear it. Or like a defensive posture, I'm forcing it, putting your energy above others, this can show up as also like, I'm going to make you listen to me. I'm going to share everything that actually you don't need to know, but I'm so convinced that everything I say now is so important and more important than anybody else that I'm just going to share excessively, right? Like you have to hear all the feelings, you have to hear all the that's actually a wounded form of taking up space. It's not really centered, it's not really grounded. It's not taking up space is never taking up the space of another. It's never imposing yourself on another. It is never manipulating or forcing another. That is not taking up space. That just becomes domination. That's the opposite. You go from submission to domination. It's wounded. What is most important when I'm working with clients on anything, whether it be in a retreat, whether it be one-on-one, whether it be in a group, is that you actually create the deep embodied shifts, which requires creating the energetic shifts, the emotional shifts, and the mental shifts, because it's all one. Can't separate them, but they are separate pieces of the puzzle, and you have to work on each and integrate them to create real transformation, right? To create a new identity. Is that you really, instead of any sort of forcing or outward focus, that the focus remain internal with your internal state and energetics and emotions, so that you begin to take up space within yourself. For example, I had this moment when I was traveling in Europe not long ago, in which I was standing at a train station, and I just felt how much space I was taking up. I was standing still, wasn't doing anything to try to take up space. But my energetic field, I just noticed in that moment how much my energetic field had expanded to take up space without any effort at all. Because I had spent the time and done the inner work for so long, so intentionally, which allows me to help others do the same quickly, right? That I just naturally was taking up space energetically, and it was noticed and observed by everyone around me everywhere I went. Because it's an energetic taking up of space that is not dominating, that is not domineering, that is not forceful, but simply claimed. Okay, I want you to feel that. What if I simply claimed my space through my body, through my energy field? What if I simply claimed my space, right? You claim it through the knowing, right? This is the deep inner work. This is where the work happens, not in the forcing. The work happens through your knowing how worthy you are of being you, all of you. How worthy you are of shining your light. How worthy you are of living and embodying your truth. How worthy you are of beauty, of pleasure, of wealth, of abundance, of joy. And then the work is to clear the resistance, to clear the layers, right? That's the releasing of the past. That's the releasing of the old habits, the releasing of the old emotions, the releasing of the old beliefs, the old ways of silencing, the old ways of muffling and keeping down and suppressing these parts of you. Because here's the thing, most people that don't take up space energetically or in relationship with others, right? If you tend to give a lot more space to others than yourself, most people who do that aren't actually taking up space within their own body, taking up of space internally. Are you truly seeing and honoring what is within you? Are you truly feeling and hearing and being with what is in you? Are you receiving all of you? This is a piece of the Ecstatic Soul Embodiment program I have online, which you can access anytime. How are you receiving you? How are you receiving you? Are you claiming your space by claiming your right to be and feel and speak? Are you? If you're forcing someone to recognize your space, I'm going to demand this. You better X, Y, Z, or else. There might be something to look at. That could be a stage, right? Particularly in a relationship. Say if you're in a relationship in which the person isn't honoring you, there's a stage in which that needs to happen. Your anger, right, comes up for you to notice, to be with, to sit with the wisdom, to start taking up that space. Your anger is there for a reason. When you ignore it or suppress it or throw it on another person, make them responsible for it, make them change without you doing the inner work, that's the problem. So, how can I simply declare through my own boundary, through my own truth, through my own choices, this is who I now be, and you either honor this or you don't, right? But then, of course, that requires working through the fears that come up. Again, that's where somebody like myself as a guide can help you and support you and witness you in that transformation. So you don't get stuck in the old cycles, right? It's so easy to get stuck in the old identities, stuck in the old cycles, stuck in the old ways of being, stuck in the old thoughts. This is the only reality. This is the only way. And you limit yourself and you stay small and you stay in hiding and you don't ever actually claim the space, even though you think you're claiming the space, because you're not claiming it energetically because you haven't cleared all the muck in the way. You've got to clear the muck. You've got to clear the fears. You've got to clear the ways that you were deeming yourself unworthy unconsciously. Most of this is unconscious. I wasn't walking around my whole life contracting myself physically, thinking to myself that I was unworthy of taking up space. My whole body was just contracted because deep down, it took me years to get to it. I was so scared of being me because I'd been killed so many lifetimes for being me and my power and my truth. You gotta get to the root and you have to see it lovingly, dissolve it through the power of your heart, through the power of love, through the power of compassion. And then you've got to let that spark of anger, you've got to let that spark, that fire within you ignite and burn away through the illusions and burn away through the darkness and burn away through the powerlessness, so that you can actually shine your light outward instead of taking the darkness of others in and making it yours. You shine the light of your soul outward. That is part of soul embodiment. Your light takes up so much space inside of you, inside of your body, inside of your life, that there's no room for anything else. And that's how you take up space. It's by connecting to your soul, your light, your truth, your power. And you burn through any of the darkness that's covering it up, that's keeping you small, that's keeping you in hiding, that's keeping you silent. That's the work. So that when you stand at that train station and you feel how broad your energetic field is, it's actually through allowing. It's so easy. Or when you have that conversation with your partner or your family member, and you simply, yeah, this is my truth, this is my choice, this is who I be. You don't demand that they comply, because you know you're choosing freedom no matter what. And you let them choose for them no matter what. That's sovereignty. When you are sovereign, you recognize the sovereignty of others. You don't demand. You have conversations, you communicate. You don't demand. Big difference. Maybe I'll do a whole episode on communication. I think that's where a lot of people need some help. But the reality is, it's because you can't actually communicate your truth from your heart in a way in which it's received unless you do the inner work to release the fears and the ways that you're blaming or manipulating or hiding and all of that, right? So in other words, it all comes down to you. I would be happy to see you at the New You retreat if you want to transform out of these old patterns. Allow your new identity to come forth, to take up that space, to be fully in your power, to speak your truth with so much love and heart and beauty. Or if you want to work with me one-on-one in a private portal transformation, just send me a private message. You can go to thepaththosovereignty.com, find me on Instagram at thepaththosovereignty, and I'll send you lots of love for now. See you next week.